Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Faith and Purpose Podcast. This is season 2, episode 5, and my name is Agechi. And today I have a very, very special guest. I mean, this lady is so busy. I don't know how she made time to be on the show, but she is an international event and wedding planner. She's the founder and owner, CEO of RAE Affairs, meaning relax and enjoy. She's also an instructor and course instructor of and founder of RAE Moments. She's also a next gen leader at our church, the Ignite Church. So she wears many hats. She's a wife, she's a mom, she's a sister, and much more. I'm so glad to have in my midst today, Shile Bello. Shile, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
For honoring the
Oh my gosh.
invitation.
What an introduction. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Great to have you. Thank you for accepting. So we'll just, pass the ball over to you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, your profession, and one fun fact people may not know about you.
Okay. I think you said it all. My name is Shile Bello. I am an entrepreneur and I'm a mother of 2. I've been married to my husband now for 9 years this year and 14 years of being together, dating.
That's inspiring.
But yeah, I'm a regular old girl. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say.
You are a super mom. That's what you are. Because I don't know how you do it. You wear many hats and you do it so gracefully. And I must say, Shile is somebody over the years that's just been that person that you can confide in. And she will always check on you. I'll tell her that. She's that person that is just genuinely caring. She'll call you just because, she just wants to hear your voice and make sure you're okay. So she wears so many hats. And that's why I'm so glad that she's here to talk to us about the intersection of passion and purpose. You can see that she's a woman fueled by passion and she's really purposeful in all that she does. So we're going to go into a little fun activity so they get to know you a little bit more. It's called This or That, right? So tell us your favorite season. Is it spring, summer, fall, winter, and maybe why?
Oh, it has to be fall because, well, actually, it's weird because most people don't like winter. Actually, they hate winter. I prefer winter to summer. Let me put it that way. I don't like the heat. I'll take the cold any day, but my favorite has to be fall because it's, not too hot, not too cold.
It's just perfect. Exactly. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I think I'm a fall, spring kind of girl too. Fall and spring, those are my 2 favorite. I'll say, do you prefer comedy or romantic movies?
Well, rom-com, what? I love romantic movies, romantic comedies. I mean, I can even skip the comedy, but romantic.
Just the romance.
When I watch movies that don't have like a love interest or like any, I'm just like, what's the point of this movie?
Why am I wasting my time?
Like, there's no character that I could be like, oh, they're in love.
I know.
Yeah, I'm that girl. I would watch the same, like, even when I get on flights, I still watch The Notebook over.
Yeah. That's sweet. Love is a beautiful thing. And you plan weddings, so I can imagine you're always around people in love and just beautiful moments. Yeah. Okay. What about text or phone calls? Are you the kind of, I know you call people a lot, but I know you're also busy, right? So what's your preference, or it's a bit of both?
I was going to say, I'm going to cheat on this one. Can I say voice notes?
Nice. I never even thought about that. Nice.
They become my thing because sometimes I'm too lazy to text, but then I want I want actually
your voice.
Yeah. So I'll say voice notes and then phone calls, probably over texting. Texting is something I'll do like if I'm just trying to send out a message. But yeah, I love to connect with people one-on-one. I love to hear like the highs and lows of their voice. Things like that.
Yeah, I would say definitely you're kind of a phone call and voice note. I never thought about voice note because that way you're still connecting. They can hear your voice, but it's not like you have to. That's awesome. What about tea or coffee? What's your preference?
Tea. I'm a tea girl. I love my tea. I love
what specific kind? Is it green tea?
I'm very basic with my tea. Like I just like black. I don't put any milk. I could do tea without honey and everything else, but I prefer tea. Like tea is very soothing. It's nice to have a cup at night just before you go to bed.
Yes. I'm starting to get into tea as well. I've always been coffee over the years until I had my kids, and when I was pregnant, I couldn't take coffee, so I had to pivot. But yeah, tea is really nice. So I'm glad that we can agree on the tea side. Two more questions for you. What's your favorite food? And be real, like, and is it like, I know someone came and said it was Gary at one point, like drinking Gary and granules. That was her favorite, like, comfort food.
Um, it's weird because I mean, I'll say my favorite food is I mean, I guess it should be what I eat often.
Most, exactly.
So I would say noodles. I know.
Nice.
Yes.
You and I both. Oh my God.
Specifically Indomie noodles. So.
Oh, it doesn't have to be like the regular store one.
No. I know it's weird. If I have like a specific kind, like from Nigeria.
It must be Indomie. Is it Indomie chicken or Indomie onions?
Just give me regular old chicken. Yeah. So that's like my go-to if I have
food.
Nothing, I just
exactly. Yeah. And people have found ways to spice up Indomie, like they use onions, they put vegetables.
Oh yes. I put broccoli and little diced turkey.
That's making me hungry already. Last question in terms of this category before we go into the Q&A. What's your favorite scripture, that thing or the go-to scripture that you always hold onto as your anchor scripture?
This is a really good question. I would say I'm kind of dancing between.
There are a couple of them.
One that comes to mind is that is it that one? He makes all things beautiful in his time. Yeah.
Love it.
That would be one.
It's interesting because it's kind of what my name stands for. Ogechi means God's time is the best. And I never even thought about that scripture like that, but it's funny you say that, because the topic for today being in a section of passion and purpose, purpose, I feel like it's that end destination. And sometimes when you're waiting on God to make it beautiful, it seems like, like a butterfly that's in that cocoon stage, and it's just so hard sometimes trying to wait for that beautiful moment where the butterfly blossoms, right? But time and time again, scriptures like that remind me that just trust God, wait on his timing, and he'll make it beautiful. So that's nice. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. At least our guests and our listeners got to know you a little bit more, and like you're a tea girl and all that good stuff. So let's get right into it. So the purpose of today's session is to just break down, we always hear about purpose, or what's my purpose? I'm passionate about so many things, especially as young adults and with millennials. Mm-hmm. They're so passionate about so many things. You can meet someone who's like you, right? Entrepreneur, you teach, you minister, you're wearing so many hats. And some people, when we talk about giftings, are gifted in so many ways, right? So let's start first by you telling us a bit about your entrepreneurial journey. How did you land in this profession as an event planner?
It's weird because I always tell people that it's something that stumbled. Like, I didn't necessarily wake up one day and say, like, I want to do this. I was kind of doing my thing. Of course, you go to college, you graduate, they say get a master's. So you're going and you're getting your master's because that's what, you're expected to do.
Exactly.
And it's just one of those things that happened to me. I think, it's the topic is interesting when you talk about like passion and purpose, because I think a lot of times the average person doesn't wake up saying like, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? Exactly. Like, when you start to get a little older in your 20s, you start to think about that. But when you're in your teen years, for the most part, you're not thinking, that's not your waking thought. And so you're just kind of going through life based on what you know or how you anticipate that your future would be. And I think for me, I was just that's kind of what I was doing. I was kind of just going through, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to study, doing that. But while doing that, also allowing myself to kind of express some of the other things that I loved and I was passionate about and I enjoyed. Like, I mean, of course, we met at church, church girl, and, being able to serve at church and just meeting different people. And so through that journey of just doing what was in front of me and doing it well, I think that's kind of the way I see it. I mean, the Bible talks about like whatever is in front, like whatever you find your hands to do it well. And I think just when I, used to serve in ministry and help with things, like people always said like, oh, you do this thing well. Because I think I just have a gift of administration in general.
Yes, yes.
And so through that gift over the years, as I served that gift in many different ways within the church, it was one of those things that I think I didn't even know I had the gift. It was one of the things where it was like, oh, can you do this? Sure. Can you do that? Sure. And then that gift, it then translated itself into, it kind of got to form. It was like almost like I had the ground to practice the gift, because sometimes like you can be gifted, but if you haven't had an opportunity or a place where you've allowed yourself to hone that gift, where you've allowed yourself to serve that gift, you might not be able to tap into all that gift has for you at that season of your life. And I think for me, I was blessed with the opportunity of being in a church that allowed me to practice the gift and fail at the gift and, you know, kind of just do that for a while. But again, it was never exactly refining it, but it was never a thing I thought like, oh, I'm going to do this. Or I used to think about it in administration, you know, hindsight, I'm looking back and I'm like, wow, like all those pieces coming together. So essentially I served a lot at church, did a lot of things that had to do with administration, planning, putting things together. And over time, I feel like this is just one of those things that I really felt I heard God. You know, people say like, I heard God, and I'm like, how? But very few times in my life, I feel like I've literally heard God say, stop, you're doing this. And I was like, heck no. Probably said heck no to God, but I was like, heck no, I'm not doing that. Because I'm just like, who does that? Like, who does planning? Who pays anyone to do that? But after wrestling, you know, you wrestle with God and he's just looking at you like, girl, you're going to come around to this when you're ready. And it just happened. I started the journey and it's been over 11 years now. And yeah, that's
amazing. You said so many amazing nuggets. One thing I pulled out of that, you said serve your gift. You know, you were given the platform and you used it, you served that gift, and that gift now became, you know, the source of revenue, income. And you've done it so well for 11 years. And the scripture that came to my mind as well is, you know, whatever your hand finds to do, you said it, do it well, and your gift will make room for you. So that gift has now taken you, you're across the world, Italy, Venice, Mexico, you're traveling, doing what you love. That's just amazing. And the second question, I think you already answered, at what point did you discover your gift and passion for event planning, right? While you were serving in church, that was that aha moment. But how will you define purpose, and what does purpose mean to you?
You know, purpose, I feel like it's just one of those tricky things to define. You know, I wish I had like a whole month or year to read like books on purpose and come and give you some really sound and solid definition. But, you know, I think the purpose of anything is the reason the thing was created, like why it exists, if in the simplest form, right? If we think about, you know, what's the purpose of my car exists for X, Y, and Z. And I think as humans, I love to call people humans. As humans, what our purpose is essentially what we were created for. You know, I took a course, you know, years ago that I used to also run, Alpha. And it, you know, he talks about the fact that, you know, if God is the one who created us, then we need to go to him for the manual on how we are supposed to function and how we're supposed to exist. And sometimes we can go around, it's kind of like, you know, I mean, I'm sure you have, and anybody else listening has bought like a device, maybe a phone, and it comes with a manual. You just throw the manual to the side. You're like, look, I'm going to figure this out by myself. And you go. And sometimes there are parts of it that you can figure out there, but there's so much more within a particular, like my iPhone, like I've never read the manual, but you know, iPhone is designed to be simple. I don't know if you're an Android user. For all the Android users, don't come for me, but it's designed.
I am an Android user.
But it's designed for simplicity. But I'm very, very sure, like, you know, my husband says a lot of times that we're probably not using up to 50% of what this phone, like the capacity or what it was created for, that there's so many things we haven't discovered because we are just simply using it for what we know it to be, but there's so much more that it has on the inside. So the only way that you can know the purpose, the reason for why something was created, which is the purpose, is to go back to that manual and say like, okay, so let me see what else is in this phone. And I think in the simplest form, purpose is just why does a thing exist? I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, that made a lot of sense. The reason, I love your definition as well, the reason for which something was created, that's purpose. Amazing, amazing. So I'm going to go into like practical examples. Could you tell us a time when you were passionate about something, maybe a cause and a business venture, and how that you think tied back to your purpose?
I mean, passion and purpose is that hot topic, right? It's like, a lot of times, especially in our day and age, and like I said, as you grow and you come into your 20s, you start to think about like, okay, what am I, people say like, do what you love. And for some people, that saying is not always true because they're doing what they need to do and not necessarily what they would say they love, right? It's like, I mean, I gotta eat, I gotta make money, I got to, pay my bills. And so in the end, I'm going to do what is in front of me and, try to do it well, but I wouldn't necessarily say I'm passionate about X, Y, and Z. So the saying do what you love sometimes could be misleading for some people or could be defeating because people find themselves in situations where they are not doing what they love. And so for one thing, I always say it's a blessing to be able to do what you love because not everyone is in that position to be able to do so. And so I think doing what you love comes to that place of like, okay, what you're doing to make a living or what you're doing, you have to be passionate about it. And passion essentially is just like you having like an intense, desire or you're enthusiastic about something or
exactly.
you really, really feel it like deep in your soul. And I think, it's a huge blessing when what you are passionate about is not only what you can do to make money, but you feel like it aligns with what you were created to do. And I would say for me, specifically, it took a while before like I said, I'm speaking on some of these things as though like I've always, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But for the most part, I don't think I've always known it. I feel like that's the wrestle that people face where they hear people talk about passion and purpose. And it seems like people just have it all figured out. They're like, what's wrong with me?
Exactly.
I don't know what this thing is, but I really feel like for anyone listening, like don't beat yourself up if you don't have it 100% figured out, because sometimes the need to figure it out puts us in a position where we're not moving because we're like, I have to figure out something I'm passionate about and do it. But sometimes you have to just do, right? Like you have to just be in that motion of, okay, here's what I'm doing. Because if you're not doing, sometimes you will never actually discover.
That's deep.
What that passion is, what that purpose is. I feel like sometimes, again, because we're Christians, and one of the things that, the Bible says is that, he is a light unto our path, right? Like he directs our path. And sometimes when you think about it, if you're not taking a step, what do you need that light for, right? So it's like the one that's showing us the light for each step we're making. And when we're praying to God, like, God, bless my hustle, God, help me succeed, like all of that stuff is like, he requires us to be in motion. He requires us to be steps. And then he leads us. That light then directs us to where we need to go.
Preach.
Really, for me, I feel like passion and purpose intersect in a lot of ways. And I feel like part of the issue is also people feel like purpose is one thing, right? So I talked about the iPhone, and I didn't plan to talk about my iPhone today, but I talked about the iPhone and the fact that, yes, my iPhone exists for me to make calls, for me to text, for me to take pictures. I have 50,000 pictures. So when I got this new iPhone, I told my husband, I'm like, get me the largest memory.
So you can have all the...
But now it's a problem. Like, who has 30,000 videos? And
you do, because again with the events, oh my goodness.
Now I feel the need to not delete anything, but I'm sidetracked right there. But coming back to what I was saying, but the iPhone exists for all those things. But then the phone also has other capabilities that is not a normal function. So I feel like sometimes when we think about purpose, we feel like purpose is one thing. Like I have this one thing I'm passionate about. I have this one thing that is my purpose, and then we get stuck with that idea. But because I feel like life is lived in seasons, and what your purpose is in one season might be different from another season. Now, am I saying there are not some people who have one overarching purpose? Yes, you might, like the phone has one overarching purpose, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have different versatility to that purpose, and that the phone has different giftings, right? If we could use that, different things that then express itself at different times based on what it's needed for. So I feel like it's important for us not to get stuck with saying, I need to figure it out.
Exactly.
Be in motion, keep going, and it's going to all kind of make sense. Of course, it's important at points in your life for you to have like retrospective thought and say, okay, what exactly am I made for? What exactly to do? What is the why that I'm here? You know, I teach event planning for new planners, and you know, one of the courses that I teach, it talks about like defining your why. It's actually the very first course in my very long long masterclass.
That's
but
awesome.
It says, you know, defining your why, because a lot of people want to start a business and they're like, "Ooh, I want to be a I want to be a a businessman or whatever," and they just want to go straight into it. But then if you don't build the right foundation and asking yourself, like, what is my why? Like, why am I here? Because when you have a good sense of your purpose and your why, even when things come that are distracting, even when things are like all over the place, you're always going to keep going back to that why statement. And one of the things that, so eventually over time, I did have those moments where I sit with myself and saying, what is my why? Like, why am I, what is my why statement of why I do the things that I do? And sometimes it transcends beyond just event planning, right? Like, what is the why statement?
The passion, you're passionate about it.
Yeah. So let me give you an example. So my why statement is to help people achieve their dreams through serving my gift of management, teaching, and administration. So it's a very short statement, but you know, I feel like this statement is something that has been a really good guide for me through the years. Like, you know, I'm very passionate about helping people. I'm very passionate about serving, and not only in within the church setting, but just
in the community,
serving the things that God has given to me. And so in the end, like whether I'm event planning, I'm helping people achieve their dreams of this beautiful wedding through that gift of administration and helping, and whether I am, you know, teaching, I'm helping people achieve their dreams of wanting to become planners. So I feel like the why statement for me has been like that guide to be like, okay, am I still on track, like over the years? But I mean, I think I really sidetracked with that question, girl.
No, but a lot of amazing nuggets, you know, be in motion. If you're not doing, you're not going to actually discover. And then the why statement, I think that's a big one I'm going to take back as well. And the listeners will take, you actually developed your personal why statement, you know, and that's been your driving force. So for people, especially young people, and that ties into the last statement, you know, how or what resources would you recommend for people trying to discover their purpose? You already give us one resource, you know, write out your why statement. I know where you're giving out like tidbits from your course, but maybe one or two more resources that you can provide for people, especially young people trying to discover their purpose, their why, or even how do they even start, you know? And those who may face challenges, that's another thing. I know you talked about it, like keep going. Sometimes it might not make sense, but if you're moving, like you said, the word is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. The more you take a step, the more it makes sense. And from talking with her as well, she's just gifted. She talked about the path, you know, like it's the more you go on that path that it'll be revealed to you more and more, but you said it in a much nicer way. So like any more resources you can give before we wrap up the session?
I would say sometimes it's just, so a few things I would say. A lot of times when you determine like, okay, you know, there's nothing wrong with sitting and saying, what do I enjoy, right? Like sometimes we overcomplicate it, but just sit down and just jot down, like, what do I enjoy doing? I enjoy cooking. Okay, good to know. I enjoy doing this, doing that. Write down all the things that excite you, the things that that you feel really passionate about, because sometimes the things that excite you, you might do it for 5 minutes and then
then you're like, nah, I'm done.
It's not me. Like I like to eat, but the one day I attended a cooking class, I was like,
I'm exhausted.
I was like, I'll just keep ordering my food. How about that? I'm not about that life. But I think writing down the things that you love, that you're passionate about. And if you're someone who is a person of faith, if you're a Christian or a different faith, I do encourage you to go to God, because, you know, when I talked about the beginning and I said, you know, there's a manual that, you know, Apple has created for this phone. At the end of the day, even when I can't figure some stuff out, I have to go back to that manual and say, okay, what in the world were these people trying to do when they created this phone? You know, when we're seeking that place of like, God, what is my purpose? You know, God he's not out here just kind of like, you know, hide from us or not tell us things when we ask him. And I think when you get to that point in your life where you're at that crossroad and you're like, I want to live a more purposeful life. I want to live a life that is in line with what I was created for, not just
exactly. Yeah.
You know, so I feel like you could just go back, just, you know, have those conversations. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic, but just say, God, I really want to live a life of purpose. Help me understand what my purpose is. What did you create me for? What was the intention you had for me to put me here? Because none of us are here by accident. You know, you said I have for you. So I feel like it's important to go back to God. But sometimes when we go back, we don't hear it immediately. We don't hear a voice. Sometimes it's then that when we start that place of we're asking those questions, the staring begins within ourselves. So we just start to find sometimes we are getting more excited about certain things, or our eyes are open to certain other areas that we've never been before. So I would say in that season, when you're saying those prayers, when you're really having those conversations with God, like, yo, what am I here for? Pay attention to the things that are coming up. Pay attention to the things that are coming up in your heart. Pay attention to things that are coming up even within your life, the people that he's bringing you around. Those things, because it's all part of the staring. When we ask God a question, he doesn't always come down, but he starts to direct.
He'll give you those cues.
Starts to direct our path. So that's one thing I would say. Write down the things you love. And some of them you write it down and be like, can I do this for a living? Is this something that is a path that I want to go? Because, you know, not only in terms of career, like, you know, sometimes also I think it's also a problem when we define who we are by what we do. And that's something that I really
3 snaps for that.
It's you know, because who we are, like everything that I am as a person, as Shile, is not defined by because I'm a wedding planner. Because tomorrow I might not be a wedding planner. How about that? Like, you know,
exactly.
People always ask me, are you going to be a wedding planner forever? And I say to them, I'm going to do it for as long as I feel that I'm supposed to be in this field. But trust and believe that once it's time for me to move on to something else, if that time ever comes, that I will, because I understand that who I am is not
defined by what you do.
It's not what I do. And it's a tricky place, because when you are super passionate about what you do, it can really like just take over you, and that's all you're thinking, you're breathing. But I really have to come to a place, and I'm saying it now, but it doesn't mean that I didn't struggle with that, right? Because it became my entire identity. It was like all I woke up, live, breathe for. But I had to come to a place where, you know, sometimes God had to drag you to that place. And it's not a place, but where you realize, like, you know, the priorities have shifted, and your you know, your entire being is then focused on this one thing. So as much as we desire to know our purpose and do what we're passionate about, we also have to remember that it's not what we do is not who we are, and find that like make sure there's a distinction, so that you can allow yourself to also fulfill other things inside of you, because God is not, don't put him in a box. Like he didn't put him in a box. Like this is a season where you're and in the next season that could change. And then the other big thing I would say is, once you realize, like, okay, this is what I want to do, or this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I feel my purpose is, do research. Study, you know, the Bible says study to make yourself approved. We both took a foundation class that was you have to apply yourself. Sometimes also the danger, and trust me, the times that God has told me you're going to do this, and I'm like, okay, God, I do it, and then nothing is working, and I'm like, God, what's up? And he's like, I mean, we expect that because God said it, then
it's just going to be automatic,
you know. But there's also the season of applying yourself. There's a season of, you know, putting in the work, you know. A tree doesn't just blossom overnight. You plant it, you water it. You have to sometimes water it through seasons. And depending on what that God has placed in your heart, it might be something that, you know, there's some trees that don't even blossom in a whole year. Like
they take years and years. You know?
So I feel like
it's this huge,
exactly. So it's important for us to do research. Like, don't just say, okay, now I know this is what my purpose is to, you know, to bring, I don't know, to Give me something. Give me something. Give me something.
Cure HIV.
Okay, my purpose is to cure HIV, and you just think that you're gonna sit in your house and just do that. Like God says, like, I'm going to bring this deliverance to your nations through you. You have to start applying yourself. You might have to go to school. You know, you might not be a whole doctor at that point. You might have to say, okay, God, all right, what path do you want me to then take? Because part of the challenge is God says, this is a purpose I have for you right now. And you
but there is a path.
Your own tangent. Like, nobody asked you to go there. Nobody asked you to do that. So it's important to, when you get that, then start applying yourself, doing research, learning information, whether it's, you know, thank God for the web now, like information out there, go on YouTube, read books, make sure that you're educating yourself, because again, like I said in the beginning, because I had a flair for event planning, even though I didn't realize it then, it didn't mean that I had those years of actually applying myself, learning. So I really feel like that's a very important step, that because we're in a situation where we want things quick, we want to skip it, but we can't. So when you discover this is something I want to do based on maybe career or passion, or this is just something that I feel like it's my life's purpose to do this, make sure that you're intentional about learning everything you can about that thing and applying yourself towards that thing. Sometimes you might need to go shadow people, you know, that are doing it, you know, internships, internships, saying, okay, if I'm supposed, this is the purpose that, you know, I really feel that God has placed in my life. How about I intern, look up things, you know, one thing that's really big is instead of sitting and when you discover something, you have to look up for people who have been
already doing it.
Thought leaders, you know, who are some thought leaders in that field, in that space, and start listening to them. Some people, I mean, there's a thought leader in one of the spaces I'm in, and I'm like, I listen to her podcast and all that stuff. If the information is there, avail yourself of
exactly.
And think like, okay, everything is going to fall into your laps. As you know, I wish it did, girl. I wish it did, but it doesn't. So those are just some of the things I would say. Write down the things you're passionate about. Write down the things you feel God is leading you towards, but be in that motion of asking. Be in that motion of asking, and don't think that your purpose is one thing and that defines everything that you are. But be open to the different seasons and what is coming. And do research.
Amazing. I couldn't have said it better. Like, you summed everything up beautifully with those nuggets and like key action points that people can start applying in their life on a day-to-day basis. Sheila, you have been a blessing to me and of course all the listeners on the show today. So how can we follow you for more inspirational content, or for business, those who have weddings and events coming up? How can they stay in touch with you? And also the details are below, guys, in the description if you want to contact her or get in touch with her from the link. So how can we get in touch with you?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Oge. This has been so wonderful. You know, the way I describe Oge is that she is honey and sugar mixed together. You don't find honey and sugar. Like, you know, it's either you get the sugar or you get the honey, but she is both. She's one of the sweetest. I mean, there's no one who meets Oge and just doesn't feel that level of like, oh my gosh, like this. But that's the weird thing is you meet her, you're like, wait, how can a person be this nice? But she just she really just is. I've known her over the years, and she just is that person that brings so much warmth and just intentionality in the relationships that she has. So I really appreciate you having me on here. You know, God bless you for all the things you do. Okay, wears so many hats, so many things. I don't know how she does it. 3 kids. I only got 2, and I can't. But you know, thank you for having me on here. My business page is RAE Affairs. And then I also, like I said, I teach new and aspiring wedding planners, and that's RAE Moments.
Okay.
And that's all about me. I do have a website.
But
I do have a website. It's published, but it just.
So the best way is through your social media platforms to get in touch with you.
Media platforms,
yes. And you'll get back to them if they want quotes and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, thank you again for being on the show. Thank you everybody for listening, for watching. Until next time, this is the Faith and Purpose Podcast. God bless you. Bye.